So we should be live right now, and we'll just start building an audience, and hopefully we'll be able to get some people in here. I'm going to lead off with a share screen for Dr. Jeremy Teuton so that we can get to know him.
Support for TVW web services provided by the Washington Forest Protection Association.
Can you guys hear it okay?
I'm Dr. Jeremy Teuton. I've grown up in Washington State.
Yeah, turn it up.
High school and attended college in Seattle. And now
I don't see this shared screen though.
I'm running to be Washington State's next senator to represent
There it goes.
all of us. With your support, I will work to fix our government. We have all seen the mess our system has become. Our founding fathers saw how it could be too. They cautioned against political parties, knowing it would divide our nation. Today, our would-be representatives show that party loyalty is more important than loyalty to their country and those people they represent. The crucial responsibilities to listen to your constituents, present clear solutions, and act with the people's support have all fallen in the face of private meetings with lobbyists, political strategists, and even party leaders. By not bowing to one party versus another, I'm not leashed to their obligations or pushed to focus near exclusively on money and fundraising instead of the job. A major focus of my campaign is money, how campaigns are funded, and our tax code. Both are twisted problems in our system. I'm running for Senate without asking for money. It is my belief that campaigns have become a way to buy legislation and future favors. No one should support a candidate who complains about money in politics while taking full advantage of the current corrupt system. I've taken the stand that if you cannot vote for me, I cannot accept your money, and I will fight to make that federal law. A candidate that takes money from anyone who cannot vote for them, including corporations, lobbyists, national political parties, and out-of-state donors, cannot be trusted to truly represent the people. In order to show the people you are listening to them, the system needs to be straightforward and clear, so we can see how our government is spending our money. I am not only proposing an overhaul of our tax code, I have a solution. In my plan, all income is treated equally, and one tax replaces all federal income, including payroll and capital gains. This code is simple and clear-cut so people can see how their money is being taxed, how it is being spent, and can put their weight fully behind their issues. Those issues would be better understood if our elected officials were not artificially forced to remain in Washington, D.C. Those who are elected should be surrounded by those who elected them. And Washington State has heavy issues at hand. While we have supported wind, hydro, and solar energy, along with biofuels research, we must keep up our momentum to protect the environment and drive new energy jobs. I drive a plug-in hybrid, have solar panels made in Washington on my roof, cheer a friend who drives an E85 fueled race car, and I know there's more to be done. I will work for us and our land. But we do not live in isolation. I believe in free trade, but I also believe in fair trade. Free trade should not mean that American companies are punished for protecting their employees and the environment by forcing them to compete with companies and countries that do neither. I will work for and support policies that enforce an equal standard in trade and encourage American companies to insource. I will also work to improve our nation's health care. The Affordable Care Act is a decent first step, but it was distorted by political games and corrupt dealings. We must take a hard, objective look around the world and implement an improved system that incorporates aspects proven to reduce costs without impacting quality care, like all-payer rate setting for medications, and even open the door to the best innovations of the private sector. The Constitution provides a functional government operating system. Many of the aspects that are crippling our current government are not part of the original system. Until we break away from the broken cycle, until our system functions, our concerns and issues as a nation cannot be resolved. I am running to bring new solutions to the system, and I'm willing to fight to restore function to our government. As for many in Washington State, our government, and how our representatives are playing politics are deeply personal for me. Partisan bickering led me and my wife to bringing our newborn son home from the hospital in 2013 to a government shutdown. The pressure to fix our system increases every time I look at my child. I'm running for election now because while our government is not currently functioning, it is not beyond repair. I'm Dr. Jeremy Teuton. I would appreciate your support in the primary and later in the general election. Remember, the system has not failed. It just needs to be rebooted. We can reboot it.
Support for TVW web services provided.
All right, great job. I didn't think it was that bad.
Well, I've learned several things from that campaign. First is to not ever allow myself to appear both that wooden and angry in a video. Second, I did get a little angry towards the end of that. When the issues of bringing my child home, my wife and I waited to have our first child until I had a stable job. I work at a federally contracted facility, so my job is directly chained to federal funding. So having waited to start our family until I had a stable job, I went to the hospital with my wife. We brought home a healthy baby boy, healthy mama, and my job was at risk, not for any national crisis, not for anything important, but because of political dysfunction, had literally shut down the government for several days. So the anger is actually palpable. When I talk about how the sense of urgency grows each time I look at my child, now I have two, and it literally is more than double. I'd like a world where they have a chance to grow and prosper, not as effectively indentured servants to any, assuming they can even afford to get into college. So there are tons of issues that need to be addressed. I start very hard with money. And the reason for that isn't because I think the tax code is an exciting thing to discuss, isn't because I think a lot of people even really care about it. It's confusing and complex. I think that that's one of the symptoms of why people aren't engaged in our government. I think a horribly complicated tax code means people just sort of suffer through it and disengage. That's their primary contact with the government. And if that's your only
one could say it's almost meant to be that way.
It is. It is. It leaves you with two sensations when you finish doing your own taxes. I do my own. My wife and I's taxes are not horribly complex, but even with a PhD and spending a fair amount of time looking at them, I am never fully convinced that I've got it right. Never. I always live in fear that I've made that mistake that's going to have somebody show up at my door either with a big fine or with possible jail time. At the same time, hear about not just hear about, but how do you not have a sensation of beating the government if you're told you have a tax bill of $100,000, $200,000, and you hire a professional whose job it is to use every loophole and every twist, and he comes back to you and says you only owe 50. How do you not feel that you've beaten the government, that the government is stupid, that your guy helped you outsmart the whole government? Those two dichotomies, so the person who does their own taxes or has their taxes done and still has to live in fear that they've screwed it up because it's so complex, and the person who had somebody else do it for them, or maybe they're just brilliant themselves and feels that they got away with outsmarting, with conning the government out of a huge chunk of money. Neither of these things instills any kind of trust or interest in the government. Neither of these things leads people to further engage with what they feel is a functioning system. So that's one of the reasons I focus on the tax code.
If you had